Picture a massive woolly mammoth standing right in front of you. It stands over 13 feet tall at the shoulders. This giant beast has 9 tons of pure muscle, heavy bone, and thick fur. Its giant curved tusks can easily toss a human high into the air. It was built perfectly to survive the brutal Ice Age. This creature had a very bad attitude. Now, try to picture the creature trying to kill this giant. It is a human being. We are soft, slow, and weak. Humans have no sharp claws. We have no long fangs. We have absolutely no natural body armor. An average human stands only chest high to the giant mammoth's front knee. We look like the ultimate underdog in a nature show. The human is holding a simple wooden stick. A sharp stone is tied to the very end of it. On paper, this match looks totally unfair. It should not even count as a real fight. The mammoth should win easily every single time. Yet, history tells a completely different story. The ancient ground holds many secrets about what actually happened back then. The ancient fossil record is filled with giant bones. We find remains of mammoths, mastodons, and massive bison. These giant Ice Age animals were truly terrifying, but their bones show very clear-cut marks. They show undeniable signs of butchery. Stone spear points are often found deeply embedded inside the bones. Humans were definitely winning these dangerous prehistoric battles. Prehistoric humans were not just lucky scavengers. They did not just happen to find animals that died of old age. Humans were regularly taking down these massive creatures. They did this successfully and repeatedly. They did it across multiple continents. This happened over a long stretch of history. It was a deliberate, consistent strategy to secure large amounts of food. So, how did this happen? How did a weak species manage this feat? We lack claws and sharp teeth. Our only real weapons are a smart brain and opposable thumbs. Yet, humans reliably killed the largest land animals on Earth. The true answer relies on brilliant engineering tricks. It also requires an amazing level of group teamwork and strategic planning. Early humans engineered spears with incredible logic. The design worked much like a modern hollow-point bullet. They also used advanced team coordination. Their group teamwork would put professional sports teams to absolute shame. Furthermore, humans dug massive pits into the hard ground. They used these same traps for 500 years straight. They truly weaponized the basic laws of physics. Let us start with a very basic fact. Humans have been hunting giant animals for a long time. It is much longer than most people think. The oldest wooden weapons were found in Schöningen, Germany. Recent scientific dating proves these items are ancient. They are roughly 300,000 years old. That is an incredibly long time before modern human civilization even started. These ancient weapons were not just simple sticks. They were not hastily broken branches from a nearby tree. The German spears were carefully crafted from spruce and pine wood. They measured over 2 meters long. The design was perfectly balanced. This shows that real engineering skill went into making them. Prehistoric humans understood exactly how to manufacture effective tools. Archaeologists found these wooden spears among many animal bones. There were remains of more than 50 ancient horses. These horses were killed during repeated ambush hunts. The hunts took place along the shore of a large lake. Scientists believe this was a long-term hunting spot. Humans returned to this exact lake shore repeatedly over a very sustained period of time. There is a fascinating detail about this ancient German site. The early hunters were highly selective. They did not just chase any horse they saw. These hunters almost certainly belonged to the Neanderthal lineage. They specifically targeted family groups of horses. They ignored the loose bachelor herds. This choice required very careful, long-term observation of animal habits. This smart targeting suggests an advanced level of planning. It proves they used deep strategic thinking. They understood the complex social structures of their prey. This was not just random chasing. It was a highly organized operation. They did this at the exact same location over many years. It completely changes how we view these ancient human relatives today. Many popular movies show ancient humans as dumb cavemen. They are pictured waving clubs and grunting loudly. But the real evidence refutes this simple idea. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, our cousins ran coordinated hunts. They targeted large, dangerous animals successfully. They did this with sharp wood and incredible patience. Their survival depended entirely on working together well. How do you kill an animal that outweighs you by tons? You only have a long, pointed wooden stick. A recent study from UC Berkeley gives us the answer. This discovery completely changes old assumptions about Ice Age hunting techniques. It totally rewrites the classic image of the prehistoric hunter. They were not just throwing spears like modern Olympic athletes. For decades, scientists studied Clovis stone points. These sharp, beautifully crafted spear tips are famous. They are found across North America among mammoth bones. Experts long assumed that hunters simply threw these spears from far away. It seemed like a safe distance. This intuitive image appears in almost every old documentary. A brave group surrounds a giant mammoth. In those old films, hunters throw spear after spear. The giant animal eventually collapses from bleeding. But this idea has a major problem. Scientists finally tested the theory using real physics and measurements. The math did not work out at all. The human shoulder cannot throw hard enough. It is physically impossible to throw a spear through thick mammoth hide. A human cannot pierce the heavy muscle of a 9-ton beast. Thrown spears are essentially useless against such giants. It is like throwing a tiny toothpick at a military tank. You would just be hoping for a miracle. Therefore, the Berkeley researchers proposed a different idea. They call this strategy pike hunting. It is a brilliant and deadly technique. In pike hunting, the hunter never throws the weapon. Instead, they brace the base of the long pike. They push it firmly into the hard ground. Then, they angle the sharp stone tip upward. They point it directly toward the charging beast. The hunters let the angry animal do all the hard work. Its own forward motion causes the damage. A massive mammoth would charge directly at the hunters. It would collide with the planted, angled spear. The animal's enormous body weight did the rest. Its own fast momentum drove the stone point deep inside. This action generated incredible force. It created much more power than any human arm ever could. Raw human throwing strength was simply not needed here. The researchers compared this effect to a modern bullet. Specifically, it worked like a hollow point bullet. The stone tip would first pierce the thick hide. Then, the wooden shaft would enter the body. The intense pressure caused the wood to splinter inside. This created massive internal injuries. The damage was far worse than a simple puncture wound would suggest. Scientists conducted real experiments to test this theory. They dropped heavy weights onto planted Clovis pikes. The tests clearly demonstrated the deadly mechanism. For a massive mammoth, the first touch felt small. It was like a tiny pinprick, but the animal's own weight pushed the weapon deeper. The internal splintering caused a truly catastrophic and fatal injury. This single tactical insight changed everything for early humans. They used gravity and mass against the prey. They did not rely on weak human strength. This is the main reason small primates could kill massive beasts. It was not about brute force, it was about clever physics. Humans figured out that they did not need to overpower the mammoth. Humans just had to let the mammoth overpower itself. Then, the hunters simply stepped out of the way. However, pike hunting is only part of the story. Planting a spear only works if the animal charges you. It must run at the right angle and time. This required amazing group coordination. Prehistoric teams needed tight cooperation to survive these events. This level of teamwork required incredible communication skills. Yet, these Ice Age hunters had no written language. They had no sports playbooks or whiteboards to plan moves. Still, archaeological evidence for mass hunting goes back very far. We find this evidence across different continents. Unrelated groups of humans developed the exact same clever solutions to survive. One amazing technique involved using the natural landscape itself. The terrain became a deadly weapon. Hunters deliberately drove herds of animals toward danger. They chased them into narrow box canyons or gorges. Sometimes they pushed them toward steep cliffs. The terrain did the lethal work. This saved humans from dangerous, face-to-face combat with large beasts. A coordinated group of hunters would scare a herd. They worked in tight concert with one another. They funneled the panicked animals toward a cliff. The sudden drop did the rest of the job. One famous example is located in Jersey. Scientists found massive piles of mammoth bones there. They were located at the very base of a tall cliff. Some experts believe Neanderthals forced whole families off this cliff. Other scientists still debate this specific site. However, the general strategy remains well documented. Using geography as a primary weapon was common. It was used across many different prehistoric eras. Now, let us look at another genius invention. This might be the most patient strategy of all time. In 2019, researchers excavated a site in Mexico. They were preparing the ground for a new airport. Instead, they discovered something that shocked the scientific community. They found large, hand-dug pits. Ancient hunter-gatherers built these traps specifically for woolly mammoths. The evidence showed these pits were built nearly 15,000 years ago. This was an amazing engineering feat. These large pits were not just used one time. Hunters did not just dig them and walk away forever. Evidence strongly suggests the traps were reused. Generation after generation used the exact same pits. They maintained them for over 500 continuous years. That represents 5 full centuries of family lines returning to the exact same patch of ground. These families carefully maintained the deep pit structures. They passed down precise knowledge to their children. They taught them exactly where the traps were located. They learned how to lure massive animals inside. This major discovery forced scientists to change their minds. For a long time, experts assumed humans only hunted sick or injured animals. Scientists used to think humans could only kill weak beasts. The reality turned out to be much more impressive. Prehistoric communities engineered permanent hunting infrastructure. They designed these traps for perfectly healthy, fully grown mammoths. They used simple holes combined with deep knowledge. They spent centuries observing mammoth movements and daily behaviors very closely. There is a touching detail buried in this discovery. Eventually, the hunters abandoned the Mexican pit site forever. But they did not leave the bones in a messy pile. Scientists found giant tusks and shoulder blades arranged carefully. They formed intentional patterns around the skulls. This was an apparent gesture of deep respect toward the fallen animals. The ancient hunters felt real gratitude for the prey. These creatures had fed, clothed, and sustained their families. This happened for 500 consecutive years. Even while killing animals on a large scale, reverence existed. Humans honored what they took from nature. Now, let us examine another highly effective hunting strategy. This method relies on basic mammal biology. This strategy is called persistence hunting. It sounds very simple once you understand the science. It involves chasing a targeted animal for a long time. The hunters follow it until it collapses from heat exhaustion. This strategy relies on a major biological advantage that humans possess. We are built much differently than most other large mammals on Earth. Over short distances, humans are slow, but we are extraordinary long-distance runners. We possess an amazing internal cooling system. Humans can sweat efficiently across our entire skin surface. Most large mammals cannot do this at all. Instead, they rely on panting to cool down. Panting becomes useless if an animal is forced to run without stopping. A human hunting party would track an animal relentlessly. They walked and ran under a very hot sun. They deliberately refused to let the prey rest. The animal could never recover its strength. Eventually, this constant movement forced total physiological collapse. The animal simply overheated. This allowed humans to win against much faster and stronger creatures. We find proof of this strategy at ancient sites. The bones often belonged to healthy adult animals. They were not old, weak, or sick individuals. This matches the pattern of persistence hunting perfectly. For a giant mammoth, this method was incredibly difficult. However, it was a viable strategy for other large Ice Age herbivores. It worked well with other tactics. Hunters would drive an animal to total exhaustion. Then, they finished the job with a planted pike. They might also use a coordinated ambush from multiple sides. Or, they pushed the tired beast toward a trap pit. These tactics were not separate choices. Ancient hunters combined them fluidly. They adapted their plans based on the specific terrain and tools. None of these strategies worked without one key ingredient. That essential piece was deliberate, highly planned cooperation. Multiple people had to execute plans with extreme precision. They did this under conditions of immediate physical danger. Hunting a small rabbit is easy for one person, but hunting a 9-ton mammoth requires a completely different level of social organization. Massive hunts required shared planning well in advance. Groups needed a clear division of labor. Hunters placed deep mutual trust in one another. Their lives literally depended on each person doing their job perfectly. They needed sophisticated communication to coordinate dangerous moves in real time. They could not shout loudly without instantly scaring away the giant prey. Some hunters actively distracted the angry animal at great risk. Others stood completely still at the trap site. They held heavy, braced pikes at precise angles. They waited quietly for a beast that could kill them instantly. If anything went wrong, they would die. Coordinating these high-stakes operations required an amazing level of social trust and shared understanding. Many scientists believe this intense pressure changed human evolution. The practical demands of big game hunting pushed us forward. It drove the development of human speech and language. It created deeper social bonds and complex planning abilities. The challenges shaped our modern minds. Mammoths provided meat, fur, and bone tools to early human communities. The sheer difficulty of the hunt shaped the human brain. It created the tightly bonded societies capable of success. The giant beast helped us become smart. We must also admit the dark reality of this history. Big game hunting carried a massive human cost. Many hunters surely died during these dangerous encounters when things went terribly wrong. A planted pike could easily fail against a charging beast. A coordinated drive might fall apart instantly. A trap pit could fail, leaving hunters helpless. Every strategy was a dangerous gamble, yet ancient humans kept doing it for generations. They refined their methods and passed down the knowledge. The massive rewards were worth the deadly risks involved. There is a sad ending to this ancient story too. Many scientists believe human hunting caused a mass extinction. Around 13,000 years ago, giant Ice Age animals vanished. This happened due to rapid climate change and intense hunting pressure. Our incredible ingenuity became too effective. The very strategies we celebrate ultimately helped destroy these magnificent prehistoric creatures forever.